What's up guys, and welcome back to another Wynand Crypto video. Look, even while this market keeps bleeding, XRP keeps delivering massive growth signals, and we're witnessing serious adoption exploding around the XRP ledger right now. This is absolutely critical to watch while everything's down because it's proving the network's raw strength and showing us that XRP has grabbed center stage, and we've got to dive into this. Now, I'm also going to break down tons of additional intel beyond just a single post that's really showcasing just how incredibly bullish XRP looks right now. So let's kick things off with this post from Sentiment because this actually reveals the explosive growth happening around the XRP ledger. Check this out, the XRP ledger is displaying serious growth signals from both usage and key stakeholder angles. The number of interacting XRP addresses has averaged over 295,000 throughout the past week. Its typical daily average over the past 3 months was roughly 35,000 to 40,000. So the reality that we're hitting 295,000 plus daily active wallets over this past week is absolutely massive. Beyond this, whales have been diving deep. Plus, there are now over 2,700 whale and shark wallets holding at least 1 million XRP for the first time in the asset's 12 plus year journey. We can actually see this here. Let me pull this up in a fresh tab. Let me zoom out quickly. So you've got the yellow showing daily active addresses, and then the blue represents the actual unique wallets holding at least 1 million XRP or more. And you can see they're both spiking dramatically. This has been building for some time now, especially toward late May. This is actually incredibly exciting because it means we're witnessing way more network activity. We're seeing significantly more whale accumulation of XRP too, so this signals just how bullish XRP truly is. On top of this, we're now witnessing more and more integrations in this space. For instance, recently we saw breaking news. Full XRP integration is coming to Cardano, says founder Charles Hoskinson, hinting at complete XRP integration into Cardano plus RLUSD, DeFi features, Lace wallet support, and Glacier drops. A fresh crypto alliance might be forming. Now this is actually happening while we're seeing the EVM sidechain starting to really gear up toward possibly going live. They're targeting around Q2, right toward the end of Q2, and we're right there, so you know, it looks like they're just around the corner. Once the EVM sidechain goes live too, countless networks can integrate and connect into the XRP ledger, which will be absolutely game-changing. We're going to witness much more volume, increased dev activity as well. We'll see overall use cases really starting to explode. So I'm genuinely excited about the EVM sidechain. I think there are almost 90 plus projects already on the EVM sidechain, which is absolutely incredible. Now beyond this, we've got companies planning to add XRP to their treasury. Big shout out to Edo Farina for this. We've got big whales quietly scooping up millions because they know something massive is approaching, which we do have confirmation of. It's not just hype. A supply shock is inevitable. Don't necessarily believe that's the case. You know, I think eventually we'll definitely be discussing a supply shock, but right now, I don't think that's happening. I do think that time is running out on the fact that, you know, we'll probably never be able to purchase XRP around certain price levels again, even during bear markets. Now, when we consider that, let's examine these companies launching XRP treasuries. Trident with $500 million, Wobus with $300 million, Vivo Power with $121 million, Logistics with $50 million, Hyperscale with $10 million, Worksport with $5 million, and then BC Bud and Digital.com, they're around roughly $225,000 to $250,000. But the reality that we've got over almost $1 billion allocated to XRP just from companies, some of these are publicly traded companies, shows us how massive XRP is becoming. Like I said, it's grabbing center stage now at the exact same time that companies are planning to add XRP to their treasury, and we're witnessing whale activity picking up and accumulation of XRP heating up. Plus, we're seeing more and more integrations and even the EVM sidechain becoming reality. We also have fresh updates around the ETFs. We already know that the Purpose Investment ETF started trading earlier today. And this brings me to this announcement from Eleanor Tourette, which is fresh, following a previous delay to June 17th, which was Thursday, or technically 4 days ago. The SEC government is inviting public comment on whether to approve or deny CBOE's proposal to list the FTIT. This is the Franklin Templeton XRP Spot ETF. The deadline for comments and rebuttals is also in late July. I think that gives us a timeline here. Maybe not, but it's sometime around roughly the end of July. And then we think about this, right? We're getting closer to the ETF in the US being traded live. I just can't wait for this. This will be huge to follow because once we got one, we got all the other ones. And you guys, I have a special trick for you which nobody seems to be using, and I cannot wrap my head around why. Because if you sign up through my link down in the description onto the BTCC exchange, you get a 10% deposit bonus. And now stay with me here. Now here comes the important part. If you have any trading capital on any other exchange and you move it to your newly created BTCC account, you get, on top of your capital, you moved another 10% extra trading capital. As an example, so if you move or deposit $50,000 to your account, you get $5,000 for free. I'm not kidding. I really don't understand why nobody's doing this. To me, it really seems like people sometimes are too lazy or just don't like free money. I cannot make that account for you. Now please pause the video for a minute to make an account. You can thank me later in the comments below, because this limited time promotion is by far the easiest way to increase your trading capital. Now let's jump back into the video. Now big shout out to Good Morning Crypto, because he actually dropped an excellent post regarding all the final deadlines, which if we actually examine this, we've got the Grayscale XRP ETF, which the final SEC deadline is around October 18th. October 19th is the 21 shares XRP ETF. October 20th is the Bitwise XRP ETF. October 24th is the Canary Capital XRP ETF. And then we also have the Wisdom Tree, CoinShares, Franklin Templeton ETFs, all by October 25th. So October is basically a massive month to watch. Now mind you, we don't need to wait for these deadlines. I've discussed this on multiple occasions, right? We don't need to wait for the deadline. These could happen at any moment. The second that the SEC starts approving any of these spot ETFs, that's the moment we start seeing the wave of them getting fully greenlit, which I'm super excited about, because I think we're getting closer and closer to that, especially while we're seeing XRP getting more and more volume and value and more positive news happening around XRP and increased focus on XRP. Well, the more these big players like, for example, we'll just say BlackRock for instance, we know there's no XRP ETF filing from BlackRock, but if I was BlackRock and I'm seeing XRP constantly in the headlines, I'm always seeing XRP being discussed, I'm seeing so much activity around XRP, I'm thinking we need an ETF. So the more ETF filings we get, the stronger of a case for big players like BlackRock to also file for one, which I do believe we'll get, and I don't even think Fidelity filed for one. So that's another one we're really watching as well. I think by the end of this year, we'll probably have almost every single major player on board with an XRP ETF. It just makes complete sense. They want to make serious money. They're looking at Bitcoin, they're looking at Ethereum. Next up in line is XRP, because XRP has been outperforming almost everything in the top 100 this cycle. And beyond that, XRP has been everywhere, making massive noise. Now on top of that, we've got this from OpenEden. In 2024, we partnered with Ripple to become the first tokenized US Treasuries launched on the XRP ledger. Ripple's investment in RT-Build tokens highlights their confidence in the future of RWAs on-chain. Now in this video clip that got posted by All in Crypto, we have Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz discussing tokenized real-world assets, naming BlackRock's bullishness on RWAs and how Ripple is working with institutions to acquire treasuries with OpenEden X and also ARCAX. Watch this.
Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, publicly, this is one of the largest asset managers on the planet, publicly leaned into his belief around tokenization of real-world assets as a profound opportunity. And as some of you guys know, and I think certainly David and I spent time talking about, we've had a bunch of announcements on this front. OpenEden most recently doing the tokenization of US Treasuries. I think Ripple may or may not have yet publicly announced we're actually going to allocate and buy about $10 million worth of OpenEden US Treasuries, which will be kind of the on-chain version, if you will. But also, one of the things we announced at our last Apex, our developer conference, was a relationship with Archax, and I think he's on stage later today. Is that right? Do you know that?
I'm not sure.
All right. I think I'm supposed to give a plug around that. But I'm curious, I mean, any other surprises from you on real world assets, either why it's taken long or why it's happening quickly? What's your thoughts?
I think the biggest surprise for me is how quickly the major players seem to feel that this would be inevitable. They went from like, crypto's all a bunch of scams and it's never going to threaten TradFi, to starting to see that like,
Lean in.
Yeah, we see polls where like these institutional players believe that this is definitely going to happen. And the interesting thing about that is that means that they need to establish defensible positions. And I think that kind of segues interestingly into our play in custody with the acquisition of Medico, to put ourselves in a position to, people who issue real world assets, they're not going to all want to build their own platforms and management and all that.
And yeah, I mean, listen, when you really think about what's been happening here, any big player that wants to tokenize, that's also another key point I want to take from David here, is that if I was a major institutional player or any company, right, it could be a bank that wants to tokenize deposits, I'm going to utilize somebody that has an all-in-one package, which is Ripple, right? They have Ripple custody. They have a tokenization engine already built into that. They have a liquid stablecoin. They have everything under one umbrella. So they've got an all-in-one package, and today we know that tokenization is only continuing to heat up. OpenEden is crushing it. Even though it's a smaller company, they have about 58,000 followers. You've got to remember that's not just follower count, right? OpenEden has been killing it. Arcax, by the way, Arcax also looks pretty small on paper, 16,600 followers. They're actually one of the bigger players in this space in terms of protocols. Now, when we talk about tokenization, it's been heating up on the XRP ledger. Let me actually just refresh this, make sure it's all current. $157 million on the XRP ledger, which might seem small, but it's actually up almost 35% in just the last 30 days. Stablecoin market cap also up over 31% in the last 30 days. And if we actually come down here, we can see that Arcax is number one. If we actually look at the protocols, if we examine Arcax, so currently this is what we have on the XRP ledger. I don't know if this is tracking everything. I don't even think it's all fully updated, because we do know if you actually go to Arcax website, they have tons of things fully tokenized already, where they list everything. So I don't think they have everything listed here, but we already know they're working with Aberdeen, with Hedera, for example. They're tokenizing billions of dollars there. They're also connected with the XRP ledger through Aberdeen as well. And they have integrations with XDC and Solana, Algorand, Polygon, and all these excellent networks. So I don't think this is getting fully tracked here. But the fact that we see so much of this value on the XRP ledger already, and by the way, this is a mix of everything. We have stablecoins on here, we have stocks, US treasuries, we have non-US government debt. I mean, there's so much that will be added on this over the next couple of weeks. But so far, OpenEden has about $5.1 million on here. Arcax, almost $12 million. So we're witnessing more and more tokenized RWAs coming online on the XRP ledger. We now have, I think, like 5 or 6 different stablecoins as well. We're going to see these numbers, like right now. If you really want to screenshot these numbers, come back to this video in 3 months, for example. I will just give it 1 quarter. These numbers are going to look completely different, because we continue seeing more and more adoption happening around XRP for tokenization initiatives. Now, also at the end of the day, when you think about the space, like I said at the beginning of this video, even though this market is currently in this downward swing, where not much is happening price action wise, we still continue seeing tons of moves happening around XRP. But what if I told you that this market is going to soon wake up in a massive way? I actually saw this post from TechDev52, and although many people have their own opinion on TechDev in terms of how much he posts about bullish this, bullish that, or the bull market this and the bull market that, but actually look at this, right? This is at every 4-year time frame. Now, he did say that this one is actually taking 5 years. If you look into this, okay, let me just zoom in quickly. So we have at the top Bitcoin, and then on the bottom we have the liquidity weighted business cycle. Now, if we are thinking about liquidity, we know liquidity is about to increase significantly. I don't even think we need to look at this chart from TechDev. We know that the M2 supply has been going crazy. We're hearing all this talk about war, and we have these riots breaking out in the US. We will print more money, especially when it comes to war or any major conflicts. We start seeing the M2 supply exploding. But already the M2 supply has been surging while Bitcoin has been pretty stable. And so has crypto. This is telling us, and this is actually hinting that Bitcoin and crypto is going to also surge this year to catch up with the M2 supply. Okay, I do think everyone should be paying attention to liquidity. I think everyone should be paying attention to the M2 supply around the world. Not just in the United States, because we already have in the European Union, we have the M2 supply exploding. China has also been exploding their M2 supply, and I do think the United States is also going to do that as well. It's only a matter of time. So when we think about this, right? Every single 4 years, and yet the 4-year cycle, and technically yes, it could stretch to 5, it's all following the liquidity cycle. This one has taken a bit longer because we actually never saw that big surge in liquidity so far this cycle, but you have the perfect environment for it. This one has taken a bit longer because we actually never saw that big surge in liquidity so far this cycle. But when we have the perfect environment for it, so when you think about what's happening here, this is also telling us exactly why we should be very bullish. Not just on XRP, but on crypto in general, because this market is definitely going to be, in my opinion, trading significantly higher in the coming weeks. I don't think we have to wait longer than roughly the beginning of July. I think by the beginning of July, things will be significantly higher as well. So with that being said, I hope you absolutely crushed this analysis with me. If this XRP breakdown got you as hyped as I am, smash the like button like you're accumulating XRP, hit subscribe because we're riding this crypto wave together, and turn those notifications on because the next few weeks are going to be absolutely wild and you don't want to miss a single update. You're more than welcome to follow me on Twitter. Thank you very much for watching. Wynand Crypto out.